Hello, and welcome to the Southern Caucasus. We're going to take a quick flight over to Tbilisi this afternoon and have a little fun along the way and do some sightseeing as well. Just relax for a bit while I get us ready here. Electrical power on. If you're new to the sim, instrument lighting on, you might not have tried one of the Russian pits. Yes, everything's in Cyrillic and the instruments read out in metric, but relax. If you can remember a few numbers, you can fly this thing yourself. It's a piece of cake. We're going to play by the rules today and get permission to start our engines.
Kutaisi 104. Запуск.
104. Kutaisi. Запуск разрешаю.
Alright, left engine start. We're sitting here on the tarmac at Kutaisi Airbase, not far from the city of Kutaisi from which this base takes its name. We're actually in the city of Kopatneri, which is something of a Kutaisi suburb. In real life, this used to be a military base. But today, in the real world, it's David the Builder Kutaisi International Airport. Most of the hardened hangars we see in the sim have been removed, although about 9 or 10 still exist. And interestingly, the ones that exist in real life do not exist in the sim. Okay, right engine start. In the sim, this place is depicted purely as the military airbase it once used to be. When the new Caucasus map comes out, this might change. I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. We should have an interesting flight this afternoon. I've arranged to do a bit of NOE flying once we're beyond the Rioni. And there's an area of old volcanic cinder cones and the Caldera out by the border with Armenia and Turkey that I'd like to show you. Okay, let's get ourselves configured for takeoff, extending the flaps, and we'll go to full flaps. Unless you are extremely light in this aircraft, always use the full flaps for takeoffs and landings. Let's request permission to taxi.
Kutaisi 104. Руление.
104. Kutaisi. Разрешаю руление на полосу 8.
Well, what do you know? They're still awake up there. Okay, let's taxi on down to the runway. Aeroflot. I wonder what his issue is that he's down here in the maintenance area. Well, it looks like the party's in 29 tonight. Well, that's certainly loud. Sounds like that big 27 taking off. Yep, there he is. Over there is where the international terminal and the new control tower are in real life. Ah, looks like we've got a parade. Okay, looks like the pattern's clear. Let's hold short and get permission to take off.
Kutaisi 104. Взлет.
104. Кутаиси. Взлет по готовности. Отход по схеме на 300. По давлению 7, 5, 6, 1,10.
Still looking clear. Brakes engaged. Throttles to full power. If you're new to this jet, notice that there are no afterburners. Brakes released. Rolling. Remember I said you just needed to remember a few numbers? Well, the first number to remember is 280. That or a number close to it is your rotation speed. 240, 50, 60, 70, and rotate 280. Gear up. Takeoff flaps coming in, but I'll keep the maneuvering flaps out until we pick up a bit more airspeed. Okay, for the way we're flying, maneuvering flaps in. That circle on the HUD is the flight director circle. If I follow it and pull it into the center of the aircraft datum, I'll be at our assigned altitude and on our assigned course line. I'm not going to follow it too closely for this flight though. I'm just mostly using it for a general sense of direction. We're flying out over the Rioni River Basin. That's the Rioni below us. It flows in that direction into the Black Sea near Poti. And its source is in that direction, high up in the Greater Caucasus Mountains near the Didi Adina Glacier. City of Kutaisi in the distance. Out there, the Rioni looks like this. And in this direction, the confluence of the Rioni and Crivia rivers in the sim and in real life. In case you haven't noticed, the Su-25T or T-Frog isn't a sleek air-to-air jet that flies at Mach 2, but it's still a lot of fun. What it's really good at is ridge running and valley driving. Once we're across the Rioni, I've got permission to take us down for some NOE, or Nap of the Earth flying. The Baghdadi Vani Depnari autoroute below us. That's Baghdadi in the distance. Okay, we're well across the Rioni. Now, let's have some fun. Going down. Skirt the end of this ridge. And slip into the valley between ridge lines. Let's slide up over this ridge. And down into the Kanaskali River Valley. This aircraft gives you good visibility for this sort of maneuvering, doesn't it? That's the road to Sarmi up that valley. Sarmi, in case you don't know, is the home to several balneotherapy spas centered on the natural spring water up there. Here's what this junction looks like in real life. Continuing up the river valley for a bit. And now it's time to veer off up in this direction. In real life, there's actually a tiny village here, Kani, at this valley junction. Staying low as we follow this crease up. As you fly this aircraft, you'll notice that it takes time for the engines to spool up, so it's important to anticipate your power needs. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself behind the power curve and unable to catch up. That's especially important when you're going into a climb, even a shallower, sustained climb like we are now, right now. Slip over the top, staying low as we cross a quick series of ridges. Lovely views. I've got to admit, this aircraft can be fun. And now we're dropping toward the Shkeramela River Valley. Be nice if I missed this ridgeline. Slip into here and just stay low for a bit. And slip over this ridge. Almost to the valley I want. And dropping into it, we pick up the rail system. We'll follow this for 20 kilometers or so to Tsipa. There's the railway. I think I'm going to cut the corner here. Now, in the sim, the roads along here seem to be concrete or whatever. In fact, though, they're mostly dirt. Ooh, we're definitely going to rattle some windows. We're also definitely going to get some angry phone calls about this. What interests me about Tsipa is the rail cut through the ridgeline we have in DCS World. As I researched this area, I kept finding references to a rail tunnel down here in this part of the Lesser Caucasus Mountain. So anyway, I wondered about that coincidence, and sure enough, I finally located the real-world coordinates for the tunnel, and they match this place. In the sim, we have a major cut through a ridgeline. In the real world, though, it's a tunnel. Up and over. Those fields along the S8 highway are especially pretty in the spring, and this is what this area looks like in real life. That's the Mikvari River we're flying over. Its source is in northeastern Turkey, where it's called the Kura. This river travels through here, crosses the border into Azerbaijan, and eventually empties into the Caspian Sea. And if this were the real world, about 15 clicks down that very pretty river valley is Bajormi, home of Bajormi mineral water, which is famous in this part of the world. It's all the rage across the border, in Russia too for that matter. Unfortunately, the current map has no town of any sort there. Maybe the new map will take care of that. If you do any research into this area at all, you quickly come to realize that this entire region has a rich and very diverse cultural history. And you also discover very quickly that just about everything has at least 3 different names. It all depends on who's telling the story. And as you spend time in the air over this map, if you're anything like me, you start noticing the topography passing under your wings. And fortunately, the mesh resolution in DCS World is often high enough to tell a story. If you look closely, you'll realize fairly quickly that there's been a good deal of volcanic activity in this part of the world in the past. The evidence of it extends from the place I'm taking us to now, north through the greater Caucasus mountain range and onto the Taman Peninsula across from Crimea. In fact, Mount Elbrus, about 200 clicks behind us right now, is an ancient volcano, which still has an active fumarole or two. There are mud volcanoes and hotspots as far north as the Taman Peninsula up at the other end of the map on the Kerch Strait. If you're using the default textures, the current map actually includes one of those mud volcanoes as a map texture in that area. The color's been altered, and the texture is repeating, so you don't actually realize what you're looking at. I just happened to look at the texture from the right angle one day and realized I had seen it once before, in an aerial photograph of the area. Maybe I'll take you up there sometime and point it out if we get a chance. In real life, this entire region is seismically active too. Earthquakes are fairly frequent. Okay, just across these ridges is what I wanted to show you. I was flying in this area one day, watching the scenery go by, and happened to be looking in the right direction with just the right lighting and thought, that looks just like a volcano. I checked once I got out of the cockpit, and it was. Coming into this area, you can see several aging cinder and lava domes. That's Lake Tbilisi ahead of us. Here's what this area looks like in real life. That small dome over there is the Tbilisi volcano. It's a bit more distinctive in real life. And that's the Samsari Caldera out there. Shavadnaba, another volcanic dome, is passing down our left side. This is the Samsari Caldera I was mentioning back in Kutaisi. There are a number of small cylinder cones in the area. And the caldera. A caldera, or volcanic cauldron by the way, is formed either by a gigantic volcanic explosion or the collapse of a magnetome. Either way, it spells volcano. In fact, let's fly down into it. Here it is in the sim, and here it is in real life. And out the other side. A quick look back. And down at the south end of this small range is Abuli, another ancient volcano surrounded by several smaller domes. borders of Turkey and Armenia are just a short distance ahead. In fact, that lake over there is partly in Turkey, and that one is in Armenia. And now that we've gotten our low fuel warning, it's time to head back toward Tbilisi. First though, we'll head back down along here for one last look. There's the Samsari Caldera again. And a number of cinder cones. I guess we're going to have to behave ourselves now. No more NOE. That's the Mektvari River Valley over there, though I can't quite make out the river itself. .40 or so kilometers to Tbilisi. Ah, there's the river. The city of Gori is out there somewhere. I don't think that's it, though. If you were paying attention in history class, you might recognize the name. Stalin was born there. And if you don't recognize that name, I guess I'm really dating myself. There's the Mektvari again, dead ahead, where it flows through Tbilisi. Well, actually, I think that's the Tbilisi Sea, which is actually an artificial lake that serves as Tbilisi's reservoir, and Tbilisi. I'm hoping that the new map will give us a much better sense of place than the current one does. This area is rich in culture and history, but you don't get much of a feel for that. Our current map has some Svaneti villages and watchtowers sprinkled here and there, but not a whole heck of a lot more. It'd be great to have at least some of the ancient architecture depicted, as well as, well, maybe things like the Gudari ski area high up in the Caucasus Mountains. I guess we'll see what happens when the new map is released. If nothing else, maybe the scenery will be more photorealistic. That water that heads up towards the horizon, that's the Aragvi River. It joins the Mektvari just below that ridgeline there. Okay, time to start paying close attention for a bit. Throttle back. Gear coming down. Maneuvering flaps extended. And since DCS World is currently missing Tbilisi's most notable architecture, we'll take in what it does provide. The first is Mikhail Meshti Stadium, sometimes referred to as the Lokomotivi Stadium. This is the second largest stadium in Georgia and seats 27,670 people. The next notable structure is Dynamo Arena, also known as the Boris Pachadsky Stadium. This is the largest stadium in Georgia with seating for 54,549 people. Here's the Mektvari River again as it flows through Tbilisi. There's a good look at the confluence of the Aragvi and the Muktvari. The town there is Mishteka, which, in real life, is home to the Shristetskoveli Cathedral, a World Heritage Site. Landing flaps extended. And we'll make the turn for Soganlug Airbase, passing over the city's reservoir. All configured for landing. Tbilisi to our right. There's Soganlug with the Muktvari to the right outside the fence. Just gradually slowing down. We're coming down a bit steeper than normal to catch up with the flight director's circle. The Muktvari again, just outside Soganlug's fence on the right. Descending at roughly 5 meters per second now. In real life, we'd be flying over a rail yard now. Slowing to 300. Throttling back to idle, crossing the threshold at 280. There's that number again. Flare, settle onto the runway. Drogue shoot. And brakes. We'll take this first taxiway, I think. Welcome to Soganlug. Here are a couple of photos from a recent air show here. Okay, hope you enjoyed the flight. Someone's supposed to meet us and give us a lift into town. Okay, that looks like our ride. Well, again, I hope you enjoyed the flight. Let's get out of here and get something to eat. Tbilisi awaits.